Okay, it is time for a much anticipated video. Um, and I've been wondering when it's going to happen, but it finally happened. Andrew Tate's first interview publicly after after being released from jail. He's still on house arrest, and that's going to come to an end as there are still no charges filed against him. So the level of corruption is extremely blatant and obvious. But besides from a few vlogs that he's uploaded on his Rumble channel, this video is the only interview that he's put out, and it's with the BBC. Now, I've seen people calling the woman that interviews him Professor Umbridge from Harry Potter, so that's always a good sign. That's that's it. That's a good preface for this. Okay, let's go.
Andrew Tate.
One central element of this interview and many interviews to come that's completely changed is the elements of power in an interview. Now, I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by that. Now, recently, the elements of power in interviews have completely shifted because, especially with Elon Musk pioneering this type of format on Twitter Spaces where the interviewer doesn't have more power or even more sway necessarily in the interview than the interviewee. And this is an extremely special format because it used to be you go in for an interview and they have complete power and control about how they portray you, how they edit it, how they cut it. And this has been a huge point of contention recently as very controversial people, I'm thinking of Donald Trump especially, have been unfairly portrayed by the extremely biased organizations that have been co-opted by the left-wing ideology to essentially demonize anyone they disagree with. And that old format is now looked at as old as the new format of interviewing is the person, the interviewee, the person getting interviewed, now has just as much power as the person doing the interviewing or the organization conducting the interview because they can have access to the full footage. This is what we're seeing here. Andrew Tate recorded himself on his own site so he would have the footage so we could all see this, so that we could see how corrupt they operate this interview.
You've agreed to do an interview with the BBC today.
Yep.
The material is going to be published on television, on radio, online.
Perfect.
Why is it so hostile to begin with? She knows that there are no charges filed against him, right? She is surely not going to try to play into a narrative that is so old and just it's falling apart at this point. No serious person can pretend as though Andrew Tate is guilty unless they have their head buried in the sand and are just being dishonest on purpose. There are no charges filed against him, and it's really clear that people just have a motivation to take him out because he embodies how they're wrong about reality. So I wonder why it's so hostile.
But let's start with the allegations.
Not necessarily a harmful influence. The fact that I'm massively influential over.
How is the media still ignoring the fact that he's so positively changed endless men's lives? And that's completely ignored. This is a complete and thorough example of the feminization that they're trying to push on society. This type of overly concerned, it comes across as overly concerned, falsely derived empathy and compassion to the excess. Wow, so utterly corrupt. This woman is essentially an embodiment of the degenerate feminine psyche protesting masculine order. That and also demanding under the guise of compassion that we feminize society and become overly emotional and weak.
Youth, and I understand that. But it's my influence as a whole which people are afraid of, not necessarily the things I say.
Let's start with the allegations. Have you raped any...
Let's start with the allegations. We must reframe. You're a bad person. Remember, you're a bad person. They did the same thing with Elon Musk. They did the same thing with Trump. They did the same thing with anyone that steps out against their ideology. Their ideology, guys, you got to understand, they're the most dangerous cult in the world. They're the most degenerate, anti-intellectual cult in the world. You disagree with their ideology, they call you a bad person. That's like the most dangerous thing you can do. That is what precedes disaster, catastrophe, annihilation of people in history. This is unbelievably dangerous, and it doesn't change anything in a positive way. That actually makes it even more dangerous that it's under the flag of compassion. This is nuts. well, let's re-emphasize you're a bad person. Okay, so everyone understands you're a bad person. No one's buying this anymore. You just look fraudulent. You just look as though you're moral frauds. You pretend as though the left gives you moral virtue when it gives you none.
Anybody?
Absolutely not.
Have you trafficked anybody?
Absolutely not.
And she's unhappy with the way he's answering because he's answering the way like everyone already knows that this is not true, which is true. Everyone, including the people accusing him, know that it's all bullshit because they accused him before when it was bullshit, and it turned out that there was no evidence for that either, and it was bullshit as well. But to the left, reality is not important. Coherent analysis isn't important either. Only demonization. Only demonization. She's here to look like a meek, cowering victim trying to stand up to the big oppressor because they can only construe the world in terms of oppressor and oppressee because they gain their counterfeit virtue. They mine their counterfeit virtue from being the victims and calling the oppressors, the people they disagree with, aka Andrew Tate, the people that are evil by calling Andrew Tate and people like him the reprehensible ones. Oh no, they're the bad people. We're the good people. Can't you see? You can tell that we're the good ones because we're the victims. You can tell that we're the good people because we have the mark of victimhood. So you don't have to think beyond that. You don't have to peer beyond that because if you do peer beyond us just calling ourselves victims, you know, through body language and sign language and very slimy tactics and you know, disgusting use of leftist identity politic wording, then you would realize that our ideology is fraudulent and counterfeit, and it just completely collapses under any level of scrutiny. So we can't allow you to scrutinize us. Instead, we just have to signal to you that Andrew Tate's a bad person. That's what's happening here, and I'm not afraid to say it because it has to be said. These frauds need to be called out because they are the greatest threat to humanity and civilization that we are currently facing, and it is evil.
Exploited any women for
Absolutely
money?
not.
But you have admitted.
There was also an unmistakably disturbing element here, which is the anti-masculine sentiment, the anti-masculinity, you know, ethos that is being pushed in our culture. We need to feminize our culture so that we can get rid of accountability, so we can get rid of coherence, so we can get rid of logic, so we can pretend as though anything that disagrees with us is discrimination, et cetera, so that we continue to divide people and no one will stand up against us, all of that. And that's the reason why she's trying to play the victim here. And I see why people are calling her brain dead. Just look at her.
Using emotional love with you so that you could get them working in the sex industry for your financial gain.
As I said.
No, that never happened. Dude, these people know nothing about Andrew Tate. It's like just watch one podcast where this stuff is covered, and then you realize how like blatantly absurd this is. But no one watches the long form stuff. They only watch tiny clips. How unprofessional. No, it goes beyond unprofessional. Like I said before, this is just dishonest. I know I'm pausing a lot, but I'm going to try to get through this now.
There are 2 American women who have been caught already admitting they're lying, and then nobody else is accusing me of anything.
To begin with, it's very common in cases like this that the alleged victims do not always see themselves as victims.
Well, that's very interesting. It's actually extremely interesting because if I was...
So she's saying, wait a second, wait, think about this. So she's saying, in a case where we're going to accuse you of these heinous things, it's often common for there not to be victims that think of what happened as heinous and disgusting. Like, no, that means that there's no evidence. That means that nothing happened. So first of all, you just lied, and then you admitted that you lied and said it doesn't really matter that I lied because you're still a bad person anyway. These people don't play the game of reality. They don't play the game of morality. They're playing for team anti-humanity. That's what you got to understand. This woman is broken in a lot of ways, but this is also a look into the degeneracy of Marxism right there.
A matrix-controlled organization, and my goal was to slander somebody and try and destroy their name. You're telling me that they've chosen a crime, which 1 is heinous, of course, because it damages the person's credibility, and 2, you're saying that even if everyone else involved, if you have 5 people and everyone's sitting there saying, no, nobody's hurt anybody, we like Andrew, we've all worked together, or we're friends, etc.
That's not what it...
Right, because all the women are saying that they love Andrew. This is all the support that he's gotten. Everyone that's come out has been in support of Andrew Tate. See, they could be going after actual dangerous people. Why aren't they trying to go after Epstein? Why aren't they trying to go after the people that facilitated all those horrible things? Oh, right, because they're the ones on the left. They're the ones in power. They're the ones running the show. So we have to divert and make up stories about Andrew Tate. Actually, I've seen some interesting evidence suggesting that this was a coordinated operation to take away focus from the Epstein situation.
All of them are saying that. One of the witnesses says,
We can't go into the case. The case is open and active.
well, let's just be clear that not all of the witnesses in the case are behaving in the way you describe. And even those that are, it doesn't bar them from being treated as victims by the prosecution.
Doesn't bar them from being treated as victims because they want to be treated as victims, and why wouldn't they? Because we call them good people as a result. Yeah, they get counterfeit virtue, they get brownie points. All we have to do is say you're the predator, and all of a sudden you're bad and we're good. See how it works? Dude, these are evil people. I want you to understand these are evil people.
Allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you a question.
Correct, but you're not the boss here because I've allowed you into.
Oh, get destroyed. Oh, see, the paradigm shift that I talked about earlier. Elon Musk, thank you, bro, for changing the fucking script. You no longer have power, legacy media. Guess what? The people you interview, you can't spend it however you want. Oh, guess what? You're in his house. Now let's watch how this woman interacts with a 4-time kickboxing world champion who just told her she's not fucking in charge.
What you say. Convincing women to take part in some kind of business arrangement doesn't work long term because they're emotional. You've got to get them to fall in love with you.
Once
That's
again,
coercion, that's emotional manipulation, that's abuse.
what you've found are clips from the internet, some text from the internet, and you're going to sit here and tell me that that's the reason I should be.
Your website, your words.
It's not my website.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Check my website. Next.
Get destroyed. I don't know what else to say, bro. Oh my gosh, these are such incoherent people. They hate themselves. They hate reality. They hate you for trying to better yourself, dude. I'm gonna go to the gym after this just to trigger this woman. I mean, God.
It's the.
I look forward to the end of this trial. I look forward to clearing my name. I look forward to the BBC and the legacy media having to say not guilty and having to tell the truth. As I've said before, the only other person who's been found, despite absolute rigorous, destructive levels of investigation and prodding into my life, is this imaginary Sophie by the BBC who doesn't exist. And if you were to find any single other man on earth and try and analyze his life forensically to the level they've done mine, you would find genuine damage to people. I don't hurt people.
Wow. Guys, we're seeing literal snakes, literal piranhas trying to attack an innocent man here. These people are serpents. They're lizards or something. Like this is not human. This is so barbaric. The left is barbaric. They are the biggest threat to civilization that can possibly that they are the biggest threat to civilization right now. Demonizing people under the guise of compassion and virtue, separating people into identity groups, because to them identity is the most important membership class. There is no individuality. No, you're part of a group, and the reason why we must assign you a group, and the reason why you must identify with it primarily, is because that's how we assign you virtue. You agree with Andrew Tate, you're a bad person. You're a black person, oh, you're a black woman, you're a good person. You see how this works? They are assigned counterfeit virtue as a result to their ideology, and that is what Hitler did. That's what Mao Zedong did. That is what Joseph Stalin did. And that is what the left is doing today.
On women in the UK and elsewhere because of the things you say, because of the way you present gender relations, the way you say men should treat women.
See, there is no coherence here. There is no framework of objectivity. There is only rampant resentment and unhinged anger. Unhinged, unfathomable anger, basically, at Andrew Tate for the fact that he's representing reality to people who deny it. That's why they get so upset at him. His biggest detractors, the people that hate Andrew Tate the most, are all freak shows. You notice how they're all fucked up? They're either fat and obese, or they like wear dresses, or are communists or something. Like all of them are freak shows. Everyone that hates Andrew Tate hates him because he reminds them that they're wrong. He reminds them that they've made bad choices and are fundamentally at odds with the objective nature of reality that judges them.
BBC come here and try and push and purport this idea that I'm a dangerous person.
I'm
anti-drugs. I've never pushed drugs or any. I'm anti-drugs. I'm anti-violence. The UK is facing a knife crime epidemic, and they're going to sit here and say that I'm the most dangerous man in the UK.
Oh, she's getting upset because she can't allow Andrew Tate to expose the fact that she actually doesn't care about reality. That would be unfathomably upsetting. Of course, it already is unfathomably upsetting to her, but this is a marker of narcissism. What's upsetting is what's upsetting to her is other people realizing she's not adhering to reality. It's not Andrew Tate pointing out that she's not adhering to reality, because she's already accounted for that. And she actually gets happy. She gets gleeful is the right word. She gets subtly gleeful. It's a degenerate feminine trait when denying reality.
You said you're the most dangerous man in the world.
I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world.
You've also said that a woman's intimate parts belong to her male partner. I'm glad you find that funny.
I find it funny that you're sitting here saying that I've said I'm the most dangerous man in the world, and you believe that's. When did I say that?
I'm asking if you believe it.
No, you said you're the most dangerous man in the world. Is that some kind of proof that I'm dangerous? Am I Dr. Evil now? I'm telling you that it's very upsetting that you're going to sit here and that certain organizations in the world are going to try and pretend that I'm the biggest force of evil on earth when I'm genuinely a force for good. I'm genuinely a force for good. And the reason
the tactics of the radical left are to invert morality so that you can't tell up from down, so that they can continue to purport their insane ideology. This is why they not only tell lies, but they tell anti-truths. And anti-truth is the opposite of reality. It is the opposite of objective truth, and this is the reason why it's so deadly. Because a lie is just saying something that's not right. An example of a lie would be 2 + 2 = 5. But an anti-truth would be 2 + 2 = banana plus monkey plus giraffe in outer space. Like that would be an example of an anti-truth, right? Because it's so incredibly wrong. It's way worse than 2 + 2 = 5. These people are telling anti-truths. Andrew Tate's a bad person because Andrew Tate is actually one of the best people in the world and doing the most good out of anyone else in the world. The radical left is fundamentally opposed to morality. They are evil, and this is the reason why they have to invert the standards that judge them for being evil.
Pushing traditional religious beliefs, because I'm a religious man, and traditional beliefs in regards to marriage, which everybody accepted 10 to 15 years ago.
So
that's not a crazy conspiracy theory. If you're going to sit here and say that me believing a woman should take a man's last name in marriage makes me the most dangerous man in the world, then you're just going to lose even more credibility than the BBC's already lost in the last 4 to 5 years. If that's your point, if that's your narrative you want to push,
say that
good
men
luck.
should be able to sleep with a lot of women outside marriage. That doesn't sound very religious.
Why is she moving from accusations that are criminal to accusations of what you say offends me, as if they're equivalent? The reason is because to them they are equivalent. To them, if you disagree with their ideology, if you speak out in favor of masculinity, in favor of unabashed masculinity that reveals their degeneracy, you are a dangerous person that should be removed from society. To them, that's what it is. This is why it's murderous. This is why I speak out. This is the reason why I have to demonstrate to you that what they're doing is dangerous, because it is exactly what happened in history. Pick up a history book. This is what they did. You demonize people under the guise of fake compassion and virtue, and you create catastrophes. That's what happens. So what they're doing here is exceedingly dangerous, not only because it could kill people, but because it is degrading civilization. This is an attack on civilization here.
Let me clarify.
You should watch the show.
Let me clarify for the audience.
I'm trying to analyze her mental illness at this point, and we're only 16 minutes in.
You were being
I really think that it's genuinely sad that when the BBC has a chance to finally interview me at the end of all this Matrix attack, that they don't come here with any kind of genuine openness to try and understand my influence over the world, or the things I push.
It's the reason they're dying.
Or what I'm trying to teach the world, or why I'm a good influence on the world, because I am a massively good influence. Instead, they come here with pieces of paper with printed out excerpts from 5-year-old podcasts.
Yeah, I know.
Taken out of context to attempt the same Matrix attack on me, which has been attempted endlessly
and has failed.
Every single person in legacy media has already tried this, and it doesn't work. I really encourage you. I encourage you to read the comment section on YouTube when this goes on YouTube, and you will see that nobody believes a word you're saying.
Right, exactly. But they're such narcissists. They don't care about that. To them, it doesn't matter what you say, because if you disagree with them, you're also a bad person, just like Andrew Tate. That's the level of narcissism we're operating under. This is how much they've rejected reality and its mechanisms that reveal truth. They don't care about rationality. They don't care about logic. They don't care about actually vetting their opinions, because their opinions are not to be vetted. Their opinions are proclamations by an ideology stemming from resentment. It has nothing to do with truth. That's what we must understand about what's going on here, and what's going on, more broadly speaking, in the culture of the radical left, in the culture that is it permeates every aspect of our society right now. The demonization of masculinity, the radical left-wing resentment, the pride stuff, the LGBTQ stuff, the radical feminist anger. It's all powered through the resentment of Marxism. That's what it is. Identity politics, all of it. Wow.
National organisations who are saying that are blaming you for increasing levels of misogyny. Schools that are saying they are having increased incidents of girls being attacked, of female teachers being harassed.
If that was
by
true,
pupils,
because
of you and your teaching.
Well,
influence.
that's absolute garbage. I have never ever encouraged a student to attack a teacher, male or female, ever. I preach hard work, discipline. I'm an athlete. I preach anti-drug. I preach religion. I preach no alcohol. I preach no knife crime.
We're seeing a colliding of two worlds: order and chaos, accountability, coherence, logic, reason, rationality, etc., intellectual coherence, all that. Unfathomable anger, resentment, and chaos. Anger at reality, anger at accountability. You know, this is really surreal to see. They're not playing the same game. Over here we see sitting a person that is engaging in reality, answering questions that make sense. And I guess over here is a hysterical woman. Maybe she's in real life she's better than this, but I have no idea. This is the type of behavior that I know most women are capable of, but very, very rarely do you see it, because it's such a disconnect from reality that it essentially makes it impossible for them to function in a situation. That's why everyone else is calling her out in that room too. They're like, yeah, he's answered this 3 times. You couldn't even tell. This is super weird. And we're only halfway through at this point. Crazy.
Problem with modern society I'm against. I'm teaching young men to be disciplined, to be diligent, to listen, to train, to work hard, to be exactly like me, with no criminal record, never even yet charged in this 14-month Matrix investigation. And I'm saying that if men grew up like me, which are hardworking and diligent and some emotional control and stoic, we're gonna have a better
It enrages them that we see them as frauds. Keep that in mind.
Society, not a worse society. To sit here and say that schools in England, which is a failing nation, which has knife crime going through the roof, violence going through the roof, men's mental...
She doesn't care. No one cares, because that's reality. No, that's reality. They don't want to engage in reality.
Health going through the roof, and they're going to all blame me because I appeared on the internet 1 year ago. Is disingenuous. It's disingenuous, and also
financial success,
correct,
with a Bugatti and a cigar, but it comes with a side order of misogyny.
How does having a Bugatti and a cigar come with misogyny?
Because it's a reminder that men and women aren't the same psychologically or physically, and that enrages the radical leftist who pretends to live in a world pretends to purport a worldview where men and women are the same, blank slates, everything socially constructed. The reason why they have an incentive to insist everything socially constructed is because then they construct the world in any way they want, and it also abdicates them of accountability. Of course, it actually doesn't, because they still get judged by the objective frameworks, and objective means it's true whether or not you want it or not, whether you like it or not, or whatever you think. So that's the reason they're enraged by objectivity, and they're enraged by reminders that objectivity judges them. That's why they're enraged by the Bugatti. That's why they're enraged by the displays of universal impressiveness, because it's a reminder that women and men aren't the same. Women don't want to have Bugattis. Women don't want to smoke cigars. Women don't want to get super strong and big and fucking beat people up and be capable of violence and be capable of impressiveness and be universally admired by men. That's not, men and women aren't the same. And seeing Andrew Tate, massively swole, whether it's smoking a cigar, driving a car, whatever, is a reminder to these women that they will never be like him. And feminism today tells women to be more like the men that they despise, the men that they demonize.
Primary school children.
The idea that I made primary school children misogynistic because I own a nice car. Is that your argument?
It's the misogyny that comes along with it.
Oh, owning a nice car is misogynist.
No, it's the misogyny that comes along with it.
How does misogyny come along with owning a nice car?
Because you have an image of financial
I'm glad you're answering my questions now. We finally got the dynamic.
You have an image of financial success.
Answer my questions, as you should.
Excuse me. You have an image of financial success, but it comes along with attitudes towards women that are really problematic.
My attitudes towards women is that women should be protected and provided for, and I've said that at length. In fact,
men and women aren't psychologically or physically the same, and on some level, they will always have, and on some level, the radical left will always have contention with objective reality. My bones are denser than the average woman's bones. You understand? My muscles are denser. The chemicals in my body are not the same as the chemicals in a woman's body. We are physically not the same. My reflexes are faster than the average woman. The average, look, the list goes on and on. Men and women aren't the same, okay? It's very simple.
As a free, legal adult,
Correct.
you're equal.
Free, legal adult, my equal. But if I had a girlfriend and we were walking home late at night and I said, let's not walk down that area, it's a bad area, I have to protect you if anything happens, I want to take the long way. And she said, no, I have to walk this way, even though it's the most dangerous route, I must.
Then what?
And then I would say, you're welcome to, you could do it, you're a free and legal equal, but I'm not going to walk with you and protect you. I think that I should be able to decide the route because I have an obligation. And my obligation as a man is to protect and provide for females.
Correct.
Everything I'm talking.
They don't like the idea of men having predisposed roles, though. And the key word there is predisposed. The reason why they don't like it is because that stems from genetics. And if it stems from genetics, there can't be social programming. There can't be blank slates. And you can't say that everything is socially constructed. This is a fundamental contention. And we won't call it contention. We'll just call it disheveled rage that feminists have with the facts of genetics and biology. They hate the fact that men and women are psychologically and physically different, and that is immutable. It enrages them because it means, think about it this way. If men and women are physically different, no, scratch that. If men and women are different in any way whatsoever, then you will inevitably have to probe how they're different. In order to probe how they're different, you're going to have to employ ways of thinking that discern between right and wrong, discern between things that make sense and things that don't make sense. And in doing so, you're going to uncover a lot of other parts of the ideology of feminism that make no sense at all. That's why they don't want you to ever engage with objective reality. Because if you have to engage with objective reality, you have to employ certain tools. You have to use certain techniques that demonstrate that it's all fabricated, that it's all born of resentment and none of it makes sense. So that's the reason, in part, that's one of the reasons why feminists are so angry when they're reminded that men and women aren't the same. And most feminists are living miserable lives. Anyone that denies reality suffers from that because reality doesn't care whether or not you understand it. It just judges you regardless. So by denying reality, you're doing nothing but hurting yourself. And this causes a deep resentment in the heart of feminism. I know I talk about resentment a lot, but it's because of this reason. It's because it's destroying our civilization, and it will be met, and I will meet it. And I'm going to do war with the forces of darkness.
If a man broke into your house, wouldn't you want your husband to protect you?
There's a difference between conservative values and emotional control, coercive control.
We're talking about protection now, and I'm saying if someone broke into your house, would you want your husband to protect you?
It's not about conservative values or protection, it's what you're demanding in return for that.
Well, I'll give you this. I don't know who your husband is. I don't know if he would stand up to protect you or die for you, but I'll give you this. If someone broke into this house right now and was a homicidal maniac, I would expect me and the other men in this room to stand up and face them while you and the other women in this room could protect yourselves. I would actually believe the men should go and engage the attacker. I believe that. And even though I don't know you...
I believe that too, and it's completely right. And she knows that it's right because it's written into her fucking DNA, bro. It's on that level.
And you've come into my house with a hostile agenda, and you've come here to try and make me look bad. I genuinely am a force for good in the world. You may not understand that yet, but you will eventually. And I genuinely believe I'm acting under the instruction of God to do good things, and I want to make the world a better place. I genuinely believe my legacy is a good legacy, and I believe that eventually, when the legacy media catches up, they're going to understand I'm a good, positive influence. I'm not interested in damaging the world for money, because if I was...
I will say that the legacy media is so dramatically co-opted by the left-wing resentment types that a more likely outcome is parallel economies and parallel universes where the radical left just despises and gets constantly triggered at any manifestation of objective reality, and the conservatives just live happy lives. And when I say conservatives, you might think I'm referring to some sort of political organization, but I'm actually just using that as some sort of label to try to just describe people that don't live in universes of chaos and destruction and resentment and anger constantly. That, unlike these leftists, that's who I'm describing right now. And it is no coincidence. I will say though, it's no coincidence that the people that care about logic, care about rationality, tend to be more conservative. It is what it is. And the people that are deranged and resentful always tend to be, extremely leftist. And that's because they embrace chaos, and the left is about chaos.
Website where they pay you a monthly fee to learn how to be like you. And so the more controversial statements you make, the more money you get.
The fact that that's the path you've outlined to one, my online university, and two, my presence on the internet, the fact that you believe that's the path just shows you've done absolutely zero research. Genuinely zero research.
Okay, so how many of the people who sign up for Hustlers University come to you through your social media?
Genuinely zero research.
How many of the people who sign up for Hustlers University come to you through your social media where you direct them to the website?
And Lucy, I encourage you to go out there, do some genuine research, watch my
Did you
videos,
answer my
of
question?
course, watch my videos at length, and truly understand what I'm doing.
How many of the people who sign up for Hustlers University?
She won't do that because she primarily identifies with a group membership, not as an individual. To her, there is no actual individual existence. She doesn't have an important individual identity which would mandate betterment. All that matters is gaining virtue by adherence to a group. And so she becomes a shell of herself. She becomes a husk. She disintegrates and becomes empty. That's what happens to every leftist and every radical feminist and every deranged person that is within their grip. And it's very sad, but it's the case. So she's not going to watch his videos because she would have nothing to gain from that. She has nothing to gain from listening to reality. She has nothing to gain from confronting reality and thinking for herself. Her ideology already tells her what to think. She already gets told what to think and say, and in a result, she gets the breadcrumbs dropped from high on up. Oh, you're a good person. You'll never be quite as good a person as an oppressed black woman, but you can be a good person for today, and we'll nod our head to you and be like, yes, you're virtuous. Meanwhile, you're a husk of yourself, and you're not actually a real person, because we could replace you with any other person, and they say the exact same things, and it's quite disturbing, actually. It's quite disturbing.
Himself, he's a positive influence in the world, and he's positive for the women around him.
So
Just
why
because
are
I
so
discuss
many
men's
women-
issues, people say, oh, you're anti-woman. I'm not anti-woman, I love women.
Why are so many women saying that when their boyfriends start following you,
They're not.
they experience more control,
So many.
they experience
How many?
more abuse?
How many?
Enough.
You gotta be kidding, bro. You gotta be kidding. No. There's no way this is serious. There's no way. There's no way. There's no fucking way. How is this an interview? How is this real? Is this 2023? Is this the world that I was born into? Why? Why was I born into this world, dude? Why? Is this what I have to confront? Is this really what I have to deal with?
Thank you. Very nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice to meet you. Goodbye. It's a very polite staff.
Bro, this is too funny. Bro, this is too funny. I want to hang out with Andrew Tate so bad. This is so funny. Just to ask him, like, what it's like to constantly come into contact with women that are so hysterical and beside themselves that they just can't. They're essentially suffering from a figment of their own imagination. That's what you kind of saw there. Okay, wow. I need to. That was crazy, bro. That was crazy. The left is not playing any games of coherence. They don't care about reality. They don't care about morality. They don't care about truth. They don't care about accountability. Well, they care about all those things insofar as they get judged for not adhering to them. They care about all those things insofar as they get revealed as frauds. That angers them to no end, and we saw that there. And when they lose, they play the victim because that's all they have, but also because that's how they gain counterfeit virtue. And I do not care if I have to repeat myself, because I will reveal their degeneracy, and I'm going to do it because it's the biggest threat to civilization that we're facing. So as long as they make these errors, as long as they wage war on truth, I'll reveal them as frauds. So there we go.